Just to Dr. Mark Gordon. Our next inductee began his career as a boxing official in the amateur ranks and as a judge and referee with USA Boxing. He'd worked many shows as possible to gain experience. He then stepped up his game and became a pro judge and referee, and has quickly developed into one of the top officials in the state. He's also an author of a book, Boxing Referee and Judge, Quick Guide for Beginners. He's contributed in many ways to the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame through sponsorship, serving as a TV commentator at Florida Boxing Hall of Fame Fight Night, and assisting Florida Boxing Hall of Fame inductee Brian Gary at his boxing and refereeing seminars. The Florida Boxing Hall of Fame welcomes to the class of 2024 referee and judge Chris Young.
May surprise you, baby. First, I'd like to thank the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame and the board of directors to see fit to honor me with such this great award. I also like to thank my family for this support. It means a lot. I also want to congratulate the whole class of 2024. I mean, we're here. Before I got the phone call, what the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame meant to me is that with the history of boxing in the state of Florida, you couldn't mention that person's name, without that history. And look where you're at now. I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the Lord, and God bless.
We will move on to our participants today. Our next inductee, originally adopted and grew up in a small town near, moved back to Florida in 1985, began boxing in 1986. He won the Florida Association Golden Gloves Championship as a novice in 1988 at 156 pounds, followed by winning the Open title also at 156 pounds. He was on the Florida State team with Florida Boxing Hall of Famers like Winky Wright, David Santos. He was the first boxer from his adopted hometown of Charlotte and first fighter from Charlotte County, period, to win a Golden Glove championship. He devoted many hours coaching amateurs from 1994 to 2010, first at Blue Diamond Boxing and later Peace River Boxing. He's also served as a go-to guy whenever a promoter needed a boxing ring for their shows. He traveled the state and set up his ring for more than 20 shows and was always very dependable and did a great job. And if I can just mention on a personal note, throughout the last year or so, when I had so many issues, this guy drove me from fight to fight, carried my bag, my cushion, whatever I needed him to do, and was always there whenever I needed him. Ladies and gentlemen, the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame class of 2024 welcomes amateur champion and trainer Mark Hager. Yeah, he's going to have to do better than that in June. We'll give you a pass this time, pal. Our next inductee, born in Yonkers, New York, while still a young child, moved to Puerto Rico. A year after moving to Carroll City, Florida. One day he visited some boxing gyms in Miami, and many of those gyms made him want to get involved in boxing in some way. A friend introduced him to a guy from his hometown who was living in Florida. This guy was named Alex Lubo. He was an amateur fighter, became the Ducky's close friend. He decided he wanted to turn professional, so he started going to the gym every day. While he was training for his professional debut at the Heavy Hitters Boxing Gym, he met trainers Joe Quinlan and Del Cava. They had a wealth of boxing knowledge. He then took on the task of dealing with boxing promoters, helping to make their fights, handling any other boxing-related tasks. He started helping out more in the Heavy Hitters Gym, soon learning to wrap hands, work corners, as well as handling cuts. He grew to be very well respected by the entire boxing industry. We're proud to welcome him now. Ladies and gentlemen, Florida Boxing Hall of Fame class of 2024 welcomes Raul Alvarez.
Well, first of all, truly to be in Zoho. Somebody from Toronto. It's been a fun ride, and I hope to maybe get another 30 out of it. Of course, I would like to thank, there's a few people I'd like to thank. I would like to thank my wife, Erica, who's somewhere in the crowd here, for keeping me going, motivating me, keeping me, and pushing me. And of course, I'd like to thank my best friend here, Charles Whitaker. They made it possible. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody, for coming out.
Our next inductee developed a love for the sport of boxing at a rather young age. When he was 8, his dad bought him a pair of boxing gloves to play with. When he was in the 7th grade, before his now very well-known father ever promoted a boxing match, he wrote a paper called History of Boxing in the Heavyweight Division. He got an A, by the way. In the years since, he's worked very closely with his famous father. He founded Monarch Boxing and became the sport's youngest manager when he signed heavyweight champion Dynamite Dose. He managed Dose from his first professional fight to his undefeated as heavyweight champion. He's been named Manager of the Year by every major sanctioning body in boxing. He was inducted into the National Boxing Hall of Fame class of 2019 and the Indiana Boxing Hall of Fame in 2022. He's worked in the sports and entertainment industry for over 40 years and has managed world champions. That is a record. He serves as a boxing analyst for DKP Internet shows. Ladies and gentlemen, the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame class of 2024 is proud to welcome boxing manager and broadcaster Carl King.
Thank you very much. First of all, let me thank the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame, the board of directors, and particularly Steve and Beth Camp, my broadcast partner, Bob Alexander, for allowing me to feel honored and blessed to be a part of this small fraternity. To my classmates and to the inductees that came before me, I say thank you. Boxing is a small fraternity, and my journey began in the mid-70s, and it has taken me all over the world. And there was a time when, my parents were like, you gotta go to college, you gotta do these things, and become a lawyer. I did everything they wanted me to do except become a lawyer. So here I am today, proud to be part of this fraternity, proud to be able to be supportive of things that I
watch this wonderful film, worth to fight. It certainly is. And I look forward to being back in June to enjoy all of the festivities. And again, I say thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Of course, his dad is some dude named Don King. Anybody ever heard of him?
Nope.
Not really, she says. You've heard of your dad, too. Oh, no, of course not. Our next inductee broke into the world of ring sports in 1996 when he was hired as the contract director for the WWF. He maintained that position through 1998. 1999, he was hired as vice president of operations for the Florida-based Hall of Fame promoter Don King, or DKP. He worked for DKP until 2004. One of his many duties consisted of matchmaking for a number of DKP boxers. 2004, he was hired as vice president of boxing operations for another Hall of Fame promoter, Gary Shaw. He maintained his position until 2016. He has been a registered matchmaker for several renowned promoters, including Bob Arum's Top Rank Boxing, Al Heyman's PBC Promotions, and David Feldman's BKFL. Florida Boxing Hall of Fame would like to welcome to the class of 2024 boxing matchmaker John Beninati. Unfortunately, John was scheduled to join us for this, but he ran into a little airport delay in Atlanta. So it ain't so. I know, who could imagine? But John certainly will be here for induction weekend. We now move to our media category. It can be said that boxing has always been part of this inductee's passion. For studying journalism and devoting himself entirely to covering fights, from the most unrecognizable fight cards to world title evenings. This sport has been part of his life for so long. From a very young age and following through everything related to amateur boxing, there was no professional boxing in Cuba. In 2002, he began writing for El Nuevo Herald and wrote about various topics, especially boxing. The first boxing events he covered were those organized by Florida Boxing Hall of Fame promoter Tutu Zabala at Miccosukee Resort and Casino. There's not been a boxing card in the last few years in South Florida where you haven't seen this man working in some way. The Florida Boxing Hall of Fame welcomes to the class of 2024 boxing journalist Jorge Ibro.
Humble moment for me. I want to say, Dalia, my wife is my son who is also working with the mission. I just married her stories. I'm humble and I'm grateful that the other viewers and lend me their stories to be known. Thank you for everything. And let's be collecting stories. Thank you.
We move now to our promoter category. Our next inductee is the event manager and public relations manager and co-owner of TBK Boxing Promotions based in the Tampa area. Along with her husband and Florida Boxing Hall of Fame inductee, Jesus Tito Escalera, she brings years of experience in event planning in the public sector. That includes sporting event management, community events, and a professional event coordination. She holds a master's degree in criminal justice and law enforcement and is a re-entry and outreach specialist for the U.S. Department of Justice and has also been a consultant for the state of Florida for many years. Because of her and her husband's leadership, TNK Boxing Promotions has become a great partner with the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame, putting on our Florida Boxing Hall of Fame Fight Night fights at our various Hall of Fame weekends. One of the most respected and best boxing promoters in Florida, Florida Boxing Hall of Fame class of 2024 welcomes promoter Kalila Escalera.
Wow. I really just want to say thank you, first and foremost, to the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame and to everyone that made this possible, to the class of 2024. It is amazing. This is an amazing honor. I'm so grateful for the opportunity. Real quick, I just want to say when Tito and I started TNK Boxing Promotions, we wanted to just provide an opportunity for fighters to be able to display their talent. That's what we wanted to do. And we wanted to also inspire the next generation, not only fighters, but everybody that makes the sport possible, right? We want to inspire the next generation of promoters, of managers, of coaches, everybody that's in this wonderful, wonderful family. So I am so grateful again for this opportunity. I want to say thank you to my family, my sister, her family, and Trish that is here. They've been here since the first fight. I remember the baby was in arms and she came to the first event. And we want to say thank you to Joey, who is not here today, Joey Arduna, our matchmaker. And then, of course, I couldn't get out of your face without saying thank you to my wonderful husband, Tito. That's hilarious. Thank you very much.
It's a shame you're not very well liked, Kalila. I don't understand you. You're so friendly. Our next inductee gravitated to boxing early in life through the DC Circuit's Boys Club, competing in amateur boxing from the ages of 11 to 13. He joined the U.S. Army and continued to box, training with Hall of Fame trainer Kenny Adams. He served 8 years and was discharged and returned to his hometown of Washington, D.C. He was introduced to manager Bob Richardson, who was impressed by his boxing knowledge and asked him to train his stable of boxers in California. He's been training boxers ever since with outstanding results. 2000, he decided to relocate to Tampa and has continued training in the sport that he loves. 2008, Steve Cross and Sherman opened a gym called West Tampa Boxing, where the motto was giving a kid a fighting chance. He also met the trainer of champions, Florida Boxing Hall of Famer Jimmy Williams, helped him train another Hall of Famer in Antonio Tarver. The Florida Boxing Hall of Fame class of 2024 is proud to welcome trainer Sherman Williams. Henson, I'm sorry. Sherman Henson, my apologies. Maybe I should sit down after all.
I want to say thank you. It's a pleasure being here. Florida Boxing Hall of Fame is one of the largest, if not the largest and the best boxing Hall of Fame in the United States. And I'm proud to be a part of it. You guys are family. When I was in Washington, D.C., my sister, she told me to get my ass back down here. It's a true statement. It's a true statement. She said, this is where all the fighters come and this is where the champions are made. Yeah, that's where all the trainers that are down here and the fighters. But I want to say thank you, and it's a pleasure to be part of the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame family. Thank you. Yeah.
next inductee, born in Brooklyn, New York, began his boxing career in 1974 at the Izzy Zerling Boxing Club in Brooklyn. He was trained by Izzy Zerling and the great Jimmy O'Farrell, a champion boxer himself. He won national and Golden Gloves titles, an amateur record of 88-4. He was the sparring partner for Hector Camacho Sr. and Wilfred Benitez. Today, he is a top trainer in both the amateur and Olympian professional ranks. He's worked with 4 Olympian boxers and 14 professional world champions. Well, he's had several of his fighters fighting here in the state of Florida, where he fought as a boxer himself. His big victory took place outside the ring. You see, he battled cancer for 8 years, and he won. He's been in remission and cancer-free since 2021. Some of his accolades include first place team in the National Mayor's Cup Championship, first place team in New York Golden Gloves, and Lifetime Achievement Award from President Barack Obama. He was inducted in 2016 into the MMA Hall of Fame as well. Ladies and gentlemen, the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame class of 2024 welcomes trainer Willie Vargas.
Woke up this morning pinching myself, thinking am I still dreaming? I'd like to thank the president. Sorry. President of Florida Boxing Hall of Fame, the Vice President of Alexander, Steve Jenkins, and the Queen of Boxing, Duran, whose father was my idol growing up as a fighter. Man, I got this call last week from Steve, and it was funny because I said, "Is this a joke?" I thought he was gonna hang up on me. But I'd like to congratulate also the honorees, and I am honored, deeply honored, to be in this class with you guys. Thank you so much. I'm just so humble and grateful for this. And I'd like to say my biggest speech with you. Like Bob said, I had cancer. I was diagnosed with 9/11 cancer, ground zero. I'd like to dedicate this to all the victims of ground zero and all the kids that I trained, thousands of kids, all the champions that gave me the opportunity to be here. Thank you so much.
All right, now we move on to our fighter category. Our first 2 inductees are no longer with us. They are being inducted posthumously, but I know they are certainly in this room with us in spirit. Our first fighter inductee came from Pensacola, Florida. Competed between 1989 and 2010. He held the IBF Cruiserweight title from 98 to 99 and challenged twice for the WBA Cruiserweight title in 1994. One of his biggest wins was victory over the great Dwight Muhammad Cowie in Las Vegas. He won 10-round decisions over best but still tough and dangerous Orland Norris and Chris Berg. It was not until that he got another shot at the title belt, a bout with Emmanuel Mayfield for the IBF Cruiserweight title. He scored a 9th-round TKO to win the championship. The following year, he lost his title in a brutal 7th-round TKO to Vasily Girov. That was the first time a Cruiserweight world title fight was televised by HBO. Finished with a career record of 47 wins, 17 losses, 1 draw, 30 wins by KO. He died unexpectedly in his sleep at the age of 58 in April of last year. The Florida Boxing Hall of Fame welcomes former world champion Arthur Williams. Our next inductee, born in the South Bronx, New York, he became interested in boxing while he was on vacation in Jamaica. He began his boxing career in 1963 at the age of 16, fighting the Golden Gloves in 65 and 66. He would turn professional in 1969. His professional career lasted all the way to 2008. He was a soldier in the U.S. Army and served in Vietnam. He held the WBC Super Lightweight title, starting a 2.5-year reign by going to South Korea and stopping hometown titleist Kim Sang-hyun in the 14th round. After that, he made 5 successful defenses, including a knockout over former WBC lightweight champion Esteban de Jesus in July of 1980. That was on the Holmes-Ledoux undercard. He lost the WBC title by a split decision to Leroy Haley. He continued to fight into his 50s. He was forced to retire by the California State Athletic Commission in 2000, but he still made his way back. At the age of 60, he got in the ring, losing a 10-round decision to Anthony Osborne in the Cayman Islands. As a result, he became one of the oldest boxers to appear in an officially sanctioned bout. He passed away in his sleep on December 20th, 2019. The Florida Boxing Hall of Fame class of 2024 welcomes the former world champion, the late Sweet Saul Nambi. The world of women's boxing has witnessed a lot of trailblazers. Our next inductee stands tall among them. At the age of 20, she found her mentor in Joe Gallegos, who was her first trainer. After her initial years, she had the privilege to be trained by some of the legends of boxing, including Joe Frazier, Leon Spinks, Larry Holmes, Freddie Roach, and our very own Steve Canton. After turning pro, she became the first female from the state of Kansas to win a world championship. 1993, she secured a place in boxing history. In a grueling 10-round bloody battle against Deirdre Gogarty, she clinched the WIBF's first women's championship belt. She later would go the distance with Florida Boxing Hall of Fame inductee Christy Martin. She served her country enlisting in the U.S. Army in 1987. Later, she dedicated 19 years of her life working as a medical assistant. Last year, she was inducted into the International Women's Boxing Hall of Fame. Florida Boxing Hall of Fame Class of 2024 welcomes former women's world champion Stacey Prestige.
I'm not her. Okay.
So what are you doing after the show?
My name is Ron Scarfone. I'm a boxing writer. I've been writing for various websites for over a decade, and I'm currently writing for WBAN, the women's boxing website. And during that time, I interviewed Corbett Buttrick, who was a world champion boxer, and she co-founded the Women's International Boxing Federation, WIBF. She was also a Florida Boxing Hall of Fame inductee. And I was working with her about 6 years ago to try to get a title fight in Florida before she retired. And she gave me permission to buy a WIBF belt from the manufacturer. and the fight didn't happen. And Stacey Prestige, as they said, she was inducted to the International Women's Boxing Hall of Fame last year, and she was the first WIBF world champion. And I found out last year that her belt was stolen from her, and I still had the belt. That it was a different belt, but it was still a WIBF belt. And so we surprised her by giving her that belt when she was inducted last year. And so I wrote an article about it called Belted, which is on WBAN's website. There's also a lot of photos on WBAN's Facebook page. Yeah, so he said she finished her career here. She trained in Florida for part of her career. She fought Christy Martin in Daytona Beach, and she won against Tina Gogarty for the first WIBF belt.
Our next inductee boxed professionally for 15 years after a stellar amateur career. He held the WBC lightweight title from 2007 to 2008. He won an unexpected spot on the 1996 U.S. Olympic team, losing to silver medalist Oktay Ukal. He had upset heavily favored Zab Judah in the finals of the Olympic trials to get on that team. After turning professional, he put together an undefeated record of 26-0 before his first loss. He defeated Jose Armando Santa Cruz for the interim title in 2006. In February 2007, he was awarded that title when Joel Casamayor, the champion at the time, gave up his title rather than fight the challenger. He wanted more than anything to fight a title fight in his hometown of Chicago. He realized that dream. He outpointed all-time great Eric Morales of Mexico in a slugfest that sent him into a 2.5-year retirement. He called it a career, finishing with a fine record of 36 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw, 17 wins by knockout. He is involved with mentoring various youth, also active in the Mexican-American community in his hometown of Chicago, Illinois. The Florida, as I was starting to say. The Florida Boxing Hall of Fame class of 2024, former world champion, David Diaz. Unfortunately, David was not able to be with us today, but he has also informed Steve that he certainly will be here with us in June for our weekend. Our next inductee grew up in Newark, New Jersey. At the age of 7, he was sent to live in Puerto Rico. It was there that he got his start in boxing. When he returned to New Jersey with his newfound talent, the family wound up moving to Spring Hill, Florida. He won a number of amateur championships. He turned pro, and for several years, he developed quite a following. I had just cracked the Tampa area as a ring announcer, and I remember working several of his main event fights. It was standing room only, and the cheers were deafening. Popular guy. His final record, 13-1, 7 KOs, including winning the WBA Fedicentro and Florida State middleweight super title. He's now a licensed realtor and a devoted husband and father. The Florida Boxing Hall of Fame welcomes to the class of 2024 former state super champion Jose Chelo Alonso.
First, I want to thank Jesus Christ for his grace. I got a long speech, but I'll save that for June. I want to thank that's how I started Puerto I'll save the speech for that, but at the end of the day, I'm grateful for every single one of you. I am humbled. I am grateful. This is something I've never done. I'm just thankful. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. God bless you guys. And to my beautiful wife, my lioness queen, I love you. Thank you for believing in me, supporting me, and being here with me. I love you.
Our next inductee immigrated from the Bahamas to the United States and picked up residence in Wauchula. He began boxing professionally in 2001 with some mixed results. However, after signing with Florida Boxing Hall of Famer Peter Fernandez and Starfight Productions, he found his groove, racking up 14 straight wins and acquiring several minor titles. He lost an IBF title eliminator to Ricky Quiles by split decision. That ended his win streak. February 2007, he lost a unanimous decision to champion Paulie Malignaggi on HBO. 2006, he was named Friday Night Fights Boxer of the Year by ESPN and has fought for both Showtime and HBO. That's not where the story ends. While he was training at a local Anytime Fitness, he suffered a heart attack. Fortunately, there was a nurse at the gym that day who was able to perform CPR and help save his life. He was airlifted to Tampa General Hospital. His heart had stopped for a full 3 minutes. But like any great champion, he got off the canvas and came all the way back. His boxing career over, he is a devoted husband and father and an inspiration and role model to everyone he meets. Final record, 37 wins, 7 losses, 2 draws, 19 wins by knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame class of 2024 welcomes Edner Cherry Bomb Cherry.
Here today. Thank God. Just want to thank God for being here. It's a miracle, man. 4 years ago, I want to be here to see more, to be in the Florida Hall of Fame. Just like what he said, 4 years ago, I was flatlined for 3 minutes. I was gone. I was getting ready for a big fight on a Showtime, and then that was it. But I just want to thank God for being here, my family and friends, my fans, everyone that followed me through my whole career. I just want to thank y'all, man. Ivan, Orlando, and all of the faces, and I just want to thank y'all, man. And I really appreciate it. Appreciate it. Well deserved, man. Well deserved. 4 years ago, I would have been in the grave, and I wouldn't even be here to be in the Hall of Fame, to be here in person. But I thank God for everything, man. It's good all the time. We're here, baby. Thank you. You're here, bro.
Our next inductee was born in Guyana. Like his brother Stephen, he also had a very successful amateur career, winning the novices, intermediate, and open divisions the same year. His career was up and running with an 11-fight win streak with all quality opponents. His first title came after he brought his talents to the USA. He defeated Purcell Miller for the vacant USBA welterweight title. That set the stage for a world title showdown against the late Vernon Forrest, the IBF welterweight title. The fight ended in a no contest after he received a cut from an accidental headbutt. In their rematch in Madison Square Garden, he lost to the champ by a unanimous decision. He went on to win the vacant IBF Latino Super Welterweight title, defeating Muhammad Abdullah Salam by unanimous decision. Retired in 2009 with a record of 27 wins, 5 losses, 3 draws, 13 wins by way of knockout. These days, he is a highly sought-after trainer at the famed Gleason's Gym in Brooklyn, New York. The Florida Boxing Hall of Fame welcomes to the class of 2024 world title challenger Raul Frank.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor for me to be here. I'm so excited. I had so many things to say, but I'm choked up with emotion. Thank you all for coming out, for supporting us. I want to thank the Miami Hall of Fame for selecting me, and thank you again.
Okay, before we introduce our final inductee in the class, I want to remind you that when his introduction is finalized, we are going to ask everybody to stay where they are for just a few minutes. We're going to ask the inductees of this year's class to come up, and Dahlia is going to position them for a group photo. When she's done and we'll finish, everybody will be up in place for at least a few moments until she gets the picture she needs for the Hall of Fame that everybody will. Kelsey Banks in the finals. After turning pro, he challenged IBF Super Featherweight champion knockout in the second fight. He also won HBO. He fought on for 6 more years and finished his great career with a final record of 52 wins, 7 losses by way of knockout. He is still active in boxing and hosted a USA Boxing Invitational with Puerto Rico in Palm Bay last year. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame class of 2024, former multi-world champion, John Molina. John is going to have Tito doing his translating, as he's a little bit better with Spanish than he is English.
Primero, gracias a Dios, porque gracias a Dios estamos aquí todos.
First of all, I want to thank God because if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be here.
De verdad que estoy bien orgulloso y un placer. Y doy las gracias a Steven Carton.
I want to thank everybody. I'm excited. I want to thank Steve Canton
por este homenaje. De nada, es algo que lo que hice está cosechando ahora.
So I want to thank everybody because what I did in the past is coming now, the fruits of that hard work.
Gracias. Estoy nervioso, no sabía que esto tan pequeño me daría tanto miedo.
He said, I'm so nervous. I can't believe that you need a microphone. I'm so nervous.
Pero, ¿sabes? Yo tengo que continuar y estoy bien contento de estar aquí y compartir con ustedes, conocer esta gran deportista de atleta.
He said, the show must go on. I'm so excited to be here with great champions. Being
Quiero dedicarle este premio a mi Papa Molina, fue médico americano.
I want to dedicate this accomplishment to my brother, who was a gold medalist in the Pan American Games.
Que se encuentra aquí y fue mi inspiración.
He was my inspiration to become a boxer.
Quiero darle las gracias a mi hermano Tito, a mi sobrino Papo Tito y sus hijos,
I want to thank my brother Tito, his family, his kids,
y también a mi hermano Tito Casio por estar
my brother Tito Casas is helping me here right now.
De verdad que muchas gracias. Nos vemos todos. Felicito a todos los compañeros que están en Salón de la Fama de aquí de Formella, ¿verdad? Formella. Muchas gracias. Dios los bendiga a todos.
You want to thank all the adults for my thank you so much.
Okay, before, hold on, keep your spots, please. Before we move on to getting our picture organized, Steve Canton's got a quick John Molina story he'd like to share with you.
Years ago, when John was signed by the great Lou Duva, past Lou Duva, signed into a contract, he came up to New Jersey in training camp. And when he got there, Lou said, John says, what do I do first? He said, go out there on the road and keep running till you see the red light, turn around and come back. So John took off running. About an hour later, Lou is looking at his watch and he said, where the hell is John Molina? He hasn't come back yet. About a half hour later, here he comes chugging back. And they said, what's going on? What happened? He said, every time he came to a light, it was green. It took him that long to come to a red light, so he turned around and come back. And that story was told to me by Lou Duva and David Tuba both, so I know that it's true. Thank you.
All right, this time we are going to ask Dahlia to come forward and organize all of this year's inductees. Come on up, please. She'll position you and then hold your spots, everybody else. Please don't move. Also, sitting here. Yeah, we need the award recipients also in the picture. The fighters are going to be on the bottom part of the ring here on the floor. Those who are not fighters are being asked to go up into the ring. You'll be positioned there.
You're not in control.
Carl. Hendrick Cherry. Okay. We need Steve back up here too. Canton.
He's in the cast. He's in a cast.
We need Steve Canton back up here. There you are. Turn sideways a little bit. There you go. All right.
Vete un poquito para adentro. Ivan, move over just a little bit so they can get in. You're missing one guy. There you go. One.
Orlando, let me know.
Got it. You're all good.
Stay right there.
Hold on.
Right here.
Right here on three. Three. Here we go. Right here in the middle. One more. One, two. Perfect. Thank you.
Everybody else take a photo.
Be still. Be still. Hold on.
Anybody else that wants a Orlando. Wait, hold on.
Where we going? Left hand.
You're like this.
Orlando, let me know. Look Orlando, look Orlando.
I got that fist up. Way to go.